Hey, welcome back to our channel. This is Jared from 3C's Recreation, and today we got a low mile 2019 Honda CRF450L. I assume it's a stock oil in the bike because it's pristine, really never been off-road. But when you get a new bike, I always like to go through it and change all the fluids. So we're gonna do an engine oil change first, and then at the end of the video, we're gonna do an air filter change as well. You gotta come in from the top to get to that, so if you want to fast forward to that, it's at the end of the video, air filter change. So first thing we gotta do is warm this bike up for 3 minutes, and we'll do that now. Now that the bike is nice and warmed up, the first thing we have to do is remove the skid plate. This one's probably a little bit different than what you might have. This is an aftermarket with like a linkage protection on it. So for our skid plate, we have 2 on the sides, 2 in the middle, and then one in the middle and the back. So first thing we'll do is remove this skid plate so we can get to the drain plug. Okay, so now that our skid plate is off, here's our drain bolt. It's a 10mm hex head, so we'll pop this, let it drain. But before we do, Honda wants us to remove the filler cap. That way it doesn't restrict the flow of oil. So we'll get this out of the way. And this is right in front of your counter shaft sprocket on the left-hand side of the bike. And keep in mind, while we're draining the oil, we're going to grab the handlebar and we're going to tip this bike completely vertical. You want to make sure the bike is straight up and down while the oil is draining. Okay, now that our oil is draining, there's going to be, we got to get to the oil filter on this side of the bike, and it's under this plastic cover that Honda's got on here. So there's 3 bolts that hold this plastic cover on. There's one on the front, back, and then one on the lower side here. So we're going to pop these 3 bolts out, and that'll let us get to the bolts that are holding the oil filter cap on. So now we can get to the oil filter cap, and we'll clean that up a little bit. But interesting enough, Honda's got 3 different lengths of bolts that are holding this plastic cover on. So be so careful when you're putting those back in to know exactly what order you took them out in. So this is the front upper, the back upper, and then the lower. So super weird they would do that, but they did. So now we can get to the oil filter cap here, and we'll pull that out next. Okay, so this is the assembly that came out of the oil filter housing, and this cap is offset bolts, so you can't put it in wrong because there's going to be coming out of the case. The oil's got to go through this and through the middle, so you can't put this back on wrong, which is good. And in the manual, they want us to put grease on the end of the spring, so that way it holds itself in the end of the new filter as we're pushing it in, it doesn't fall out. So we're going to put a little dab of grease on the end of this, install it in the new filter. And we've already put a little bit of grease on this where the O-ring is going to seat into this. And it's going to go in there as an assembly, and we'll push it right back in. So it's always important to clean your sealing edges up as well. This bike's like brand new, and there's a little bit, but not much. So we cleaned up all the way around the edges of our cap. So now all we have to do is slide this back in, and our little spring has to catch the housing in the back. And it just went into its spot. And there are 2 different lengths on this bolt as well, but the top one is mega small, so we'll just slide that right where it goes. And then the bottom one goes in here, the longer one. These outer filter cover bolts get torqued to 7 foot-pounds, and we'll grab our torque wrench in a second and we'll confirm that. So it's 7 foot-pounds on this cover, and it's also 7 foot-pounds on the 3 bolts that hold this plastic cover on as well. So, and like I said, there's 3 different lengths on those that we found out. So just be careful when you're putting them back in, not to put them in the wrong spot. All right, so oil filter is done on the other side, and now we're gonna reinstall our drain plug on the bottom. We've cleaned it all up, and we've cleaned up this surface. I always let this drain as long as it can. So I let it drain while we were doing the oil filter itself on the air side. So now that this is cleaned up, we're going to reinstall this and torque it to 13 foot-pounds. Now that our drain bolt's been reinstalled, we disposed of the oil, and we're going to reinstall our skid plates. Again, you got the bolts on the sides, the ones in the middle, and then the middle and the back. So we'll get the skid plate back on, and then we'll refill it with oil. All right, our skid plate's back on, and our dipstick that we removed earlier in the video is still out, and that's where we're going to fill the oil. I like to use a funnel. We'll just kind of put it in there at an angle. And then I also prop the motorcycle up so it's straighter, so it's easier to fill the oil into the hole there. So it's 1.22 quarts that they want us to put back in. Because we did the oil filter, if it's less, they want you to do less oil. So we'll go ahead and refill this, and then we'll restart the bike and check the oil level and make sure it's exactly where it needs to be. Okay, so we just reran the bike. It's hot. I've already pulled the dipstick out and cleaned it off. Honda wants you to check the oil, and what you do is you put it in without screwing it in, because if you screwed it in, you get a false reading because the dipstick would be lower in the engine. And so now that it's up higher, we're gonna pull it back out here. And we'll put it right on here, and it's perfect, right where it needs to be in the gauge there. So this bike is ready to go. And next, if you guys want to follow along, I'll show you an air filter change as well. Now that we got our 2 bolts out to hold the seat in, just give it a pull, and you kind of slide it back to get it out of the grooves in the front. And you can kind of see the air filter in here. So what we have to do next is take these 2 8mm bolts off here, and then we'll slide this clip off the back here. So we'll remove these next. Okay, so we got the 2 bolts out, and we slid the clip off the back side here. And this air filter is brand new, so we're not going to touch it. But this is how you would get to it. You just got the clip there, you'll pull that out, slide the air filter cage out, and replace your air filter. So we're just going to go ahead and reinstall this, and we'll get her back together. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel. Have a great day.